The attack is the first direct strike on Syrian President Bashar al-Assad during his country's 6-year civil war. So you have Britain, Australia, Israel, and Saudi Arabia all saying they back the military move by the United States. Iran, though, is strongly condemning it. And Russia has called the strike, quote, aggression against a sovereign state in violation of international law. U.S. warships launching more than 50 Tomahawk cruise missiles on an air base from which officials say Syrian warplanes carried out the deadly chemical attack that killed more than 80 civilians earlier this week. President Trump announcing the missile launch Thursday.
Tonight I ordered a targeted military strike on the airfield.
Trump, who in 2013 urged President Obama not to attack Syria, said his dramatic shift in position came after this week's brutal attack.
Using a deadly nerve agent, Assad choked out the lives of helpless men, women, and children.
The U.S. military bolstering its case for Thursday's strike by giving media outlets before and after images showing the devastation of the chemical attack and an image showing the path taken by aircraft they believe carried out the attack. The reaction to Trump's military response was mostly positive, with caveats from U.S. lawmakers, including Florida Senator Marco Rubio.
Tonight's actions show that the days of being able to act with impunity are over when it comes to Bashar al-Assad.
But Moscow had been cautioning Washington against unilateral action.
We have to think about negative consequences.
Russian authorities now warning the strike might undermine the fight against ISIS and terrorism in Syria. According to state-run media, President Vladimir Putin sees the U.S. strike as an act of aggression against a sovereign state. Okay, so we're going to pull this map up so you can see this a little more in detail, giving you an idea about the area we're talking about. So this map shows you the big cities in Syria. Now, the city of Idlib, right up here, it is where the chemical attack happened this week. It is not far from the city of Aleppo, one that you may have heard of, the larger city of Aleppo. Now, the Pentagon spokesperson says the strike has severely damaged or destroyed Syrian aircraft and equipment at the Sharat airport, the airfield, which is right here, far south of those cities. The Pentagon saying the strike was meant to reduce the Syrian government's ability to deliver more chemical weapons, weapons they said they had destroyed many years ago. Bruce, Nikki, back to you.
So the big question becomes, where to from here? This move by the president, former UN ambassador, and a former member of President Clinton's national security team, Nancy Soderberg, joins us live on the phone this morning. Nancy, thank you for being with us. There are two main questions that we have to ask. Number one, the U.S. has not had a functioning policy, foreign policy about dealing with Syria in the past 5 years. Do we quickly have to develop one? And number two, what do you think the Russian reaction is going to be?
Well, first of all, I think this was an appropriate measured response to an absolutely horrific action by the Syrian regime. And it's really the first time we've seen President Trump be commander-in-chief. And I think he's getting broad support across the Congress and the United States for the action. We still don't have a policy, and we haven't really since for the last 5 years. And I think this will increase the urgency for U.S. leadership in trying to develop one. The Russians have already come out opposing this operation. They're strong supporters of Assad. They've long denied the use of chemical weapons. And this puts a real shadow on their 2013 deal when they negotiated an end getting rid of these weapons from Syria. They clearly did not get them all in there, so it's going to put great pressure on the Russians to get the rest of them out. And it makes clear that we'll do it militarily if they don't negotiate it. And then the broader question is, what is a longer-term policy in Syria? We need to, one, fight ISIS. In my view, that's the number one challenge, get them out. That means working with the Russians and others in the region. To do so, we disagree on that path. And secondly, what about the civil war inside Syria? Does Assad go? Is he part of that deal? None of those questions have yet to been answered, and they're now front and center in President Trump's inbox.
Nancy, I know that Russia threatened the U.S. with negative consequences if we carried out these airstrikes, and we certainly did. What do you think negative consequences means?
Oh, complaining about us in the Security Council, trying to put out more falsehoods about who's responsible for this. I'm not too worried about that. It'll make the diplomacy a little bit harder, but I don't expect any kind of military consequences from those actions. They've been lying about Assad regime for, well, decades, frankly, and it won't significantly change the equation, and it could perhaps help on the diplomacy.
And you mentioned the 2013 accord, and people are asking, is Russia complicit or incompetent in its ability to deliver? I guess time will tell. Nancy Soderberg. Complicit. Nancy Soderberg,
No
thank
question.
you very much for
Thank
your
you.
time. Appreciate it. Still ahead, it didn't take long for the world markets to react to the Syrian airstrikes.
Yeah, the stock markets are down overnight, plus how the strikes are affecting gas prices. Jane King's going to have those latest numbers in Money Matters. That's at 7:35 this morning. Plus, for updates on this developing story, remember to subscribe to our e-newsletter. It will be delivered straight to your inbox at the time of day that you prefer. Head to news4jax.com/e-newsletters to sign up.